Yeah, he's got those plesiosaur wings. He just flaps the ball 500 miles an hour. It doesn't matter if it's in the quadruple coverage, it's going there.
All right, we're back this week with NFL picks. Playoff weekend, first round, wild card matchups, right? And what better time and what better weather to watch NFL weekend this, Mike? I mean, honestly, it's going to be terrible weather across the nation, and even some places, like where we're at, are going to be sub temperatures, and what better weather for football watching? We're going to start off with our preview with the AFC matchups. We're going to go all the way down to Houston Texans, where the Texans are taking on the Cleveland Browns. This is somewhat of a repeat matchup that just happened a few weeks ago, and one of the rare situations we're going to have a repeat where Joe Flacco was the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this season. So, Mike, why don't you give us a little bit of a preview?
Well, the preview, Dirk, is that Joe Flacco is a Disney movie in the making. He went from, I don't know what he was doing. He was hanging out at his house drinking Prips. And now suddenly he has the Cleveland Browns as a legitimate Super Bowl contender, at least in my mind. But they go to Houston, where the Texans, out of nowhere, somehow managed to win that division despite having almost no chance. I think Jacksonville had like a 99% chance to win that division. But a little thing called CM Punk happened, and the Jaguars are no more. That organization has been wiped off the face of the earth. So now we have the Texans and the Browns. Dirk, there's your primer. What do you think?
Well, Mike, I'll tell you what. I like the Cleveland Browns in this one. Not only is it a biased pick for me because I am a Cleveland Browns fan, but I just like Joe Flacco, the way the Browns are playing, and the way that defense is playing. Traditionally, I don't really like rookie matchups in the playoffs, especially in that first round. You saw how Josh Allen even played his first year as a rookie in the playoffs, and there's just a little bit too much on the shoulders, maybe too much hero ball involved here. I'll tell you, if you look at the analytics, it's pretty interesting. This matchup is pretty square, but if you looked at the previous game, I think the Browns did a really good job with just the running game and just being able to really hold true. Now, you get some players back from the Texans. You have C.J. Stroud actually playing in this matchup. We'll see how this one pans out, but I really like the Cleveland Browns in this matchup. I'll tell you, if the Browns do win this one, that sets up a really interesting divisional round matchup between the Browns and the Ravens. Flacco going back to Baltimore, back to his stomping grounds where he won a Super Bowl, and maybe even a revenge play set up. I love that storyline, and I really hope to see that fruition. Maybe that pick is just to see that game. But if anybody's going to do it, and anybody's going to prove me wrong, it's going to be C.J. Stroud and the way he's playing. I mean, he's had how long before he even threw an interception this year, Mike? So we're going to take the Browns in this one, but I think that makes it unanimous, right, between us. We've both taken the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, the Browns are going to do it, and if it's a close game, I'll tell you what, Dirk, I think the NFL would love to see a Cleveland versus Baltimore blood grudge match, considering that Baltimore stole the Browns franchise, and, then there's the whole Joe Flacco thing, too.
All right, we're going to go on to our next AFC matchup, and that's going to be the Saturday night game. I guess you could say it's Saturday night, but it's going to be in Kansas City. This is between who really should have been the two AFC, preseason AFC championship matchup. It's between Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. We're going to go into probably an ice bowl in this one, but Mike, what do you got for a preview on this?
Yeah, pay $20 for a subscription. You get to watch the game, and they send you a case of Prips. So this one is going to be the most smallest viewing audience for an NFL playoff game ever. I think this is going to backfire on the NFL significantly to have a Peacock-only exclusive. Also, the game is going to be played in negative 30 wind chills, so we're going to find out whether or not Pat Mahomes and Tua can throw the ball in absolutely miserable conditions. Dirk, I'm going Kansas City. It's going to be a dumpster fire of a game, but I really don't know that I foresee Miami's speed translating super well in the cold, and the Dolphins are just a mess. Injuries have wrecked the defense. They're done.
Yeah, great points, Mike. I mean, honestly, you might as well cue the Benny Hill theme here because this one could really get out of hand. I don't love the speed matchup for McDaniels and for the Dolphins going into an ice bowl. Talk about like a worst case scenario for everybody's hamstrings. Already injured. Is Mostert coming back? Is he coming back healthy, fully? Is Waddle coming back fully healthy? It's going to be an interesting matchup. I just don't like it for the Dolphins. I don't. And I love the team. I love the way that they've set up. But until they get home field advantage all the way through the playoffs, it's going to be hard for them to get to the Super Bowl if they have to go through Buffalo or if they have to go through Kansas City like this. So, if it was any other matchup, I'd probably take anyone against Kansas City from the way they've been playing the last 5-6 weeks. But in this one, gonna take Kansas City as the pick here, and it pains me to do so because I absolutely love the Dolphins and that roster.
We're gonna find out whether or not the blaze of Tyreek Hill can match the chill of Arrowhead Stadium. I don't know. I'm trying to sell this one, Dirk. I can't sell it to anyone.
Well, we're rounding out the AFC previews here. It looks like we're already unanimous on all our picks. So, we're going to take the next one. That's the Saturday morning game. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who is a real surprise of even making the playoffs. How Mike Tomlin, he's making Coach of the Year, a case there by even getting that team and that roster over 500 and making the playoffs. My God, this guy is good. But that's the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. This is played up in Buffalo. In this matchup, I'm just going to go ahead and get my pick across here real quick, Mike. But I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills in this one simply because TJ Watt is out. Without any pressure, there's still going to be pressure, but without the pressure of TJ Watt, who is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, I see that the Pittsburgh Steelers are probably going to have a lot of time getting Josh Allen to be uncomfortable, getting him to force the fumbles, force the interceptions like he has in the past when they don't do well. I really see Pittsburgh, unless they can establish a run game with Warren and with Najee Harris and really establish and keep it more of a limited possession game, limited and really limited time of possession game. I just don't like their odds in this one, Mike. We're going to go with the Bills over the Steelers. What do you got?
We're also going to find out whether it's possible to have a dumpster fire in a blizzard, because the weather forecast for this game is terrible. It's like 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Buffalo with blowing snow. It's going to be a mess. Pittsburgh is hanging on by a thread. I have this weird feeling Mike Tomlin's team is actually going to keep this closer than they have any business keeping it. And I don't know that we're going to see either quarterback do much of anything, but I think the Bills hang on and win 14-10. It actually ends up being a tougher game than anyone thinks. The weather conditions are just bad. And if there is a game for some weird tomfoolery to take place this weekend, this might be the one. This might be the one where the weather is weird enough to keep Pittsburgh in this game. And Josh Allen has had a tendency to turn it over this year. So watch out for that. That could be just the thing to watch. I still have Buffalo winning. He's kick it off with the matchup of all matchups, the Cowboys and Packers. It just sounds right. The Ice Bowl. You've got the Aaron Rodgers game. You've got all of this history between these two teams. But the Packers over the years have had the Cowboys snake bitten. Green Bay has had their number. Can a lower seeded Packers team go into Texas Stadium and do it again, Dirk? What do you think?
All right, Mike. In this one, you have the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love, who's making his postseason debut in this one. I don't traditionally love rookie or postseason debut QBs, but if anybody's going to do that and surprise me, it's probably going to be someone that sat behind Aaron Rodgers for a few years and developed. So, and I also like the way that Matt LaFleur has the team running right now, and Aaron Jones is playing at a high level, and maybe Christian Watson may even be back in this matchup. I'll tell you what, though. Dallas fans, sorry, please not too much hate there. I love the team, I love the roster, and I love what Dan Quinn and Schottenheimer are doing down there. However, you got to recognize that Dak does not have a lot of success in the postseason. Dak himself has really, I think it's 2-4 record in the postseason, and that's not a very good, vote of confidence going into a postseason that, in all likelihood, there's no reason that Dallas should lose this matchup. There really isn't. It's played at home. You have CeeDee Lamb, who's playing really sneaky MVP-like. I mean, he has almost as many yards as Tyreek Hill this year, definitely more receptions, and, I hate to say it, but I'm going to take the Packers in this one. It's a gut feel out of me. I don't have a legitimate reason why, outside of just that I don't trust Dak in the postseason, and I really love him, but I just don't like his record. Mike, what do you got?
Okay, I did not have that one coming. I've got Dallas winning this one pretty comfortably, Dirk. I think Parsons puts a lot of pressure on Love. I think that the Cowboys force a couple turnovers. I think Prescott has been in the postseason enough now that the pressure in this particular game isn't as high. I think he'll play an okay game, but the pressure just builds. I mean, let's be honest, Cowboys fans and Jerry Jones are not going to be okay with just a wild card win. Mm-mm. So everything that you said is relevant, but I don't think it comes to fruition in this round. I've got Dallas by 14. Got the Cowboys-Packers picked. We went consistently 3 for 3 on the AFC picking the same pick. We've got 2 more that I have a feeling could go either way on this one. So Philadelphia is a mess, and they go into Tampa Bay, which I did not have Philadelphia playing a road wild card game anywhere on my radar at a certain point in this season. Now it feels like this team can't even win a game. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay comes out of nowhere with Baker Mayfield, and suddenly you're like, well, they've got a home playoff game. They're not that far away from a divisional round game. I don't know, Dirk, what do you think?
Yeah, Mike, in this one, everything makes me want to bet on this game and say, hey, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers based off of the performances by, what should be the NFC's favorite going into this year to make the Super Bowl. But it's hard for me to pick against Philadelphia. It's really, this matchup is going to come down to how does the Tampa Bay defense, who shows up? They are giving up the 3rd most yards in the NFL this year, which is a defensive statistical category that I never really thought would happen. They have one of the best players on defense. Antoine Winfield Jr. He's just a phenomenal playmaker, and one that I really, am remiss to see that he didn't make it to some of the teams that I like, because I love that player. I loved his dad too. But in this matchup, I don't think Baker's going to wake up feeling dangerous. And I think that the Eagles are just too good of a team. The roster's too good. That defense is too good. Now, they haven't been playing great this year, but I still think overall they have great players on that roster. This matchup, everything makes me want to pick Tampa Bay, but I'm going to go Philadelphia in here and give them the vote of confidence just based off of prior history, and also that I really think that they can turn this around. And Jalen Hurts is a winner. I mean, even in college, since he started in the NFL, I mean, he's made it to the postseason every year that he's been in the NFL. Let's not forget that. So, got to take Philadelphia in this one. Mike, what do you got?
I'm going to agree, Dirk. I think Philadelphia has too much postseason experience, and Tampa Bay, while they do have some postseason experience still on the roster, Baker Mayfield hasn't really been in this particular situation. I just see Philadelphia as the better team in this one. And it sets up an interesting a very juicy divisional round matchup, regardless of where Philly goes. And we'll get to that in the next game, but it would put Philly either going to Dallas or San Francisco, both of which they have a lot of history against those teams. So anyway, I'm going with Philly as well. And then our last game, which may be because of the terrible weather in the AFC games, in a lot of ways, this is kind of the intriguing game. This is such a fascinating matchup, Dirk. You've got the Rams, who make the playoffs on the back of maybe the best coaching job of Sean McVay's career. But this is so impressive. He got this particular Rams team to the playoffs. And then they turn around and guess what? They're playing the Detroit Lions, and the storylines are insane. Matthew Stafford goes home. Jared Goff plays the Rams. It's just all sorts of stuff. And I think it's going to be the wildest, closest game of the week. What do you think, Dirk?
Yeah, Mike, in this one, you hit it right on the head. This is a great matchup. I really like. I love these types of storylines when you have almost a revenge situation for Jared Goff or just for any player. I love revenge situations. But in this one, let's just put some stats on the board that really kind of preview what it means in this matchup. Matt Stafford, as a Detroit Lion, was 0-3 in all postseason appearances, and it wasn't until he went to the LA Rams that he went 4-0 and made it all the way and won the Super Bowl. And he's one of 3 QBs that are playing right now that have a Super Bowl ring. So you got to give a little bit of the vote to, maybe the experience behind that, but I just don't love the matchup whatsoever for the Rams. Puka Nacua, a rookie leading pretty much in all statistical categories for that receiving side for the LA Rams. But let's go to the preview the matchup on the Lions side. You have Jared Goff, who's been playing at just a ridiculous form, kind of making the LA Rams thinking buyer's remorse with Stafford, and maybe we should have hung on and kept developing Jared Goff. But that's one of the most complete teams in the NFL, if not the most complete team in the NFL. There's not a position that I can really look at that I'm like, man, they're lacking here. Complete across the board. Their special teams is great, and honestly, probably one of the best coaches right now in the NFL in Dan Campbell. So I'm going to go with the revenge matchup going to fruition. It's going to be Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions winning this one. Mike, what do you think?
It's at the same time, though, you look over at the Rams. We're supposed to be in the middle of a rebuild, and it all, after winning the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and so much transition and everything. And then all of a sudden, McVay has had them somehow back into the playoffs this year after feeling like the season was kind of getting away from them at a certain point. McVay might be a Coach of the Year candidate, which is fascinating to say. This is such a tough matchup for me. I could see it really going either way. Can Matthew Stafford really break Detroit's heart twice like that? I don't think so. I'm going with the Lions in a complete shootout, 41-38. I think it's going to be a crazy game, and that win sends Detroit back to Dallas in a rematch of that game a couple of weeks ago. It also sends Philly out to San Francisco in a rematch of the NFC Championship game last year, and I think that's your divisional round.